office someone who will keep their oath. Only support someone who is a sincere, devoted, courageous constitutionalist. That's the bottom line. They're there because we let them there, because we put them there. And so that's my criteria. And when I look at someone for public office, the first question I have is, do they know the Constitution? If they don't know it, how are they ever going to be able to defend it or obey it? They must know it. Courage without knowledge is of no use to you. You can be a former Navy SEAL and demonstrated Congressional Medal of Honor winner and demonstrated hero. But if the person does not know the Constitution, how can they possibly fulfill it and obey it? They cannot. They must know it. The second one is they must have the courage and integrity to follow it. You can have knowledge without courage, and knowledge without integrity is also useless. Plenty of lawyers in Congress and in the White House who do know what the Constitution does say, or they should anyway. They might be partly ignorant, but for the most part, it's willful. They know, and behind closed doors, they'll acknowledge. I want to tell you a really nasty story, but when I was at Yale Law School, one of the, I guess you'd call one of the perks, but maybe one of the punishments of being a student at Yale Law School was I had dinner with 3 judges one night who were all circuit court judges, Court of Appeals judges. This is the lowest, this next level above that is the Supreme Court of the United States. They're not just little piddly judges. And I got in a debate with one of them about enemy combatant status, the claim that the president could detain even an American citizen without indictment, without jury trial, if he was accused of terrorism in the war on terror. And the claim the president could just detain him in a military detention, as was done to Jose Padilla, okay, an American citizen. And we got in a debate about this. And I said, hey, look at Article 3 of the Constitution. It tells you right there what must be done with an American who makes war against his own country. What do you do with an American who does that? It's treason. It's the charge of treason is the appropriate remedy for an American who is accused of making war against his own country or aiding and abetting the enemy in time of war. That's the proper charge. And as Commander Gillie alluded to earlier, it requires 2 witnesses to the overt act. And in a public trial, in an open trial, in an Article 3 court, a jury trial, not a military tribunal, okay? And so I told him this, explained it to him. He said, he didn't disagree with me. He didn't say, no, you're wrong. You know, here's what the president has the special powers under Article 2 to do these things anyway. What he said is that, I said, look, you cannot detain an American citizen, even forget about trial, you cannot detain an American citizen unless there's been a suspension of habeas corpus. Only then can you possibly detain without indictment. And he did not disagree. Instead, he said, because of what Lincoln did in the Civil War, habeas suspension has got such a bad reputation that it's no longer politically feasible. We can't get that passed through Congress. So we're going to do it this way instead. That's what he told me. And this is the Bush appointee, supposedly a constitutionalist. I'm sure that's how he was sold to all the other conservatives. I'm sure he claims to be following the Constitution and be a textualist, but yet in private conversation he admitted that he wasn't following the Constitution. He was doing whatever he wanted to do, what he thought was best, because we were in a situation of a war against a new enemy, an enemy of non-state actors, and so we must bend and twist and turn. Will he ever say that in opinion? No, he won't. In an opinion, he'll try to find some artful way, which judges do very well, of articulating why this is totally constitutional. Here's why. Article 2, you know, the president's power as commander-in-chief. Swallow up the rest of the Constitution. Swallow up the Bill of Rights. That's the argument given by John Yoo and others in the Bush administration who also went to Yale Law School, to my shame. What's that? Lickspittles. So the point is that you have to pay attention to the fundamental law of this land. You must know it. And don't presume that because there's an R behind someone's name that they will follow it. And don't presume because they're a lawyer or a judge they will follow it. Hold them to it. Now, what's the strategy? Along with reaching out to current serving military and police, the other side of the coin is that we must take full control and full responsibility in our communities. Each and every one of you, as Commander Gillie said earlier, you should be in your state militia. You should be drilling and mustering. You're not. What can you do now? It's imperfect, but a possible solution until we can revitalize the militia in every state, preferably through statutes, But one shortstop or fix between now and there is that every one of you should join all the voluntary associations that are available to you. Your state military reserve, your sheriff's auxiliaries, your police auxiliaries, your volunteer fire departments, your CERT programs, which is Citizens Emergency Response Teams, I believe it's called. Different states have different programs. Whatever is in your community, you should be involved in it. Pick one of those that you know you can do. If you're not quite qualified or fit enough to be a firefighter, that's fine. Maybe you can go be part of CERT or go get a ham radio operator's license and help in that capacity. You could find something. Start a food bank. Start a neighborhood watch. These are all things you should be able to do. A lot of guys out there have this idea that I'm going to sit on the couch and eat potato chips, but I got my rifle in my closet and I'm ready to go, one of these days when the day happens, if ever I have to fight for liberty. But they're not willing to get off the couch right now and take part in their communities. So I encourage all of you to get off the couch and go do something. I'm not saying you're all, there's many here that I know already are. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to all of us. We all need to do this. I've done it. When I lived in Montana, I served as a volunteer firefighter there. All the other lawyers thought I was nuts. They're like, what are you doing that for? Because you're pretty busy as a lawyer. I felt an obligation to do it. And so I encourage all of you, if a busy lawyer can do it, you can do it. Find something in your community. Take part in those institutions which are there. Work towards revitalizing the militia. I recommend Dr. Vieira's book, as Gillie said. Pardon? Right. And also Walter Reddy's Committees of Safety. If you go to committeesofsafety.org, that's an organization that is devoted to implementing across the country all of Dr. Vieira's, all of his ideas about revitalizing the militia. Committeesofsafety.org. That's the organization that invited Oath Keepers to Lexington Green this last April 19th. That's why we were there. It was on their invitation. So a very good organization. I encourage you to get involved in, and they're not trying to, reform the monster from the top down. The head is rotten. DC is rotten. Focus on the states. You've got to revitalize your state institutions, which are laid out right there. As Commander Gillie alluded to earlier, what institution is supposed to repel invasions, suppress insurrections, and enforce the laws of the Union? The Standing Army? No, the militia. And one other thing I want to say is that I've gotten emails from people saying, when are you going to march on Washington to the military and the police? And my response to them is, it's not the military's responsibility to clean up your mess. You caused this trouble. You've caused this mess. You've let your institutions atrophy. It's the responsibility of the people. If any institution in this country is going to do any kind of house cleaning, who is going to do it? You the people. And if it came to force, it should be you the militia. The founders' answer to the age-old question of who shall guard the guardians was that you should guard yourselves. If you were a strong militia, you wouldn't need a large standing army. And you would have no need to fear of one, correct? So only because we've allowed all of these institutions to atrophy is our problem. We must resurrect them from the very bottom up. It will take time. And that's why we have outreach to the current serving military and police to go along with that. They're like two prongs of the same strategy. Understand that? Okay. So now, what else can you do in your communities? Well, you can, like I said, support constitutionalists, Oath Keepers to office. I don't care if they're an official member of Oath Keepers or not. The point is, don't support anyone who's going to violate their oath. And I would use those 3 criteria I gave you a little while ago. If you can't find someone in your community who you think is a squared away constitutionalist, then you might have to step up and do it yourself. To me, the best person for office, the best candidate, is the one who doesn't want it. I'd rather go find someone that doesn't want the office and convince that person to run, because that's the person that's not going to be as into the perks and into the power. If they want it really bad, I'd be suspicious of that person. But if you can't find someone out there that you can recruit and force to go, then you got to go yourself. Okay? You must do so. You must run for office. Start your local level and work your way up. Focus on your sheriff races. Incredibly important. I would get a copy of Sheriff Mack's book and pass that out to your sheriff and focus on that first. If you're going to focus on any race at the local level, make that the first one. But hey, go for targets of opportunity. Any race that's coming up, if you see a vacancy, go for it. Get somebody among your buddies someone you know is squared away and is an honest constitutionalist, have them run.